When people say something is built like a Mack truck, they aren't just whistling Dixie. Mack earned its tough reputation on the battlefields of World War I, and the expression, the name, and the reputation have all stood the test of time. The latest proof that Mack is still on top of its suspension game is the new mRIDE vocational suspension. Hi, I'm trucking journalist Jim Park, here at Mack's Customer Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Join me as we head around back to the site of the company's now retired proving grounds and put the boots to the new mRIDE suspension. It's fitted onto this gorgeous Granite dump truck. The mRIDE is lighter and stronger than the venerable Camelback suspension, and its superior articulation keeps the wheels on the ground where they need to be when you're driving on some of the worst job sites imaginable. The mRIDE uses a pack of 3 steel leaf springs over rubber blocks for stability and articulation, while leaving room around the wheel for the larger tires and brake components found in construction and vocational applications. Mack says the suspension is lighter and it provides greater ground clearance than other steel spring suspensions, and on top of that, Mack says the mRIDE is easier to maintain and easier to align, while its parallel pinion angles help extend driveline and U-joint life. Here's Mack's product marketing manager, Jerry Warncastle, opining on why he thinks fleets are going to be very happy with the mRIDE suspension.
The mRIDE actually has better ride characteristics than the Camelback, believe it or not. Our testing has indicated it has the same or better durability, much better ride, less vibration, and is a lot lighter. Obviously, customers like things that are equally as durable, but less costly and lighter weight.
In this day and age, tough and durable just gets you into the game. Fleets won't stay ahead of the retention battle if their trucks beat the daylights out of their drivers on the job sites. As you're about to see, Mack's mRIDE is as easy on drivers as it is tough on terrain.
Here we go with the Granite and the mDrive suspension over the highway course. These are a series of fairly shallow ruts spaced out to get some articulation between the suspension at uneven intervals. This next section here is meant to simulate broken pavement. It's got chunks hollowed out into the concrete surface surrounded by little metal frames so that it doesn't break up. But you can hear by the sound of my voice, it gives the suspension a pretty good ride.
A good ride indeed, but that's just a warm-up. Let's head over now to the off-road section of the facility where the mRIDE was designed to play. Back when this facility was a working proving ground, employees from the assembly plant would come out here and take turns behind the wheel. Call it a bit of a break from their day jobs. Mack needed lots of volunteers for this work because the health and safety people over there put strict limits on how many hours a week a driver could take this kind of abuse. The rutted road test, designed to replicate driving through 10-inch deep potholes at 10 miles per hour, twists the suspension up and down and fore and aft.
This is the rutted road. We're going over this at 10 miles per hour, which is the recommended speed for this obstacle. We've got about 15 inches of articulation available. We're probably running about half of that right now on these ruts. So no doubt giving it a workout, but certainly not beating it to death.
The design for each of the obstacles we're using today was based on conditions that the trucks see in real-world applications, but made slightly more severe to facilitate accelerated wear testing. A week on a course like this would equate to the wear and tear an in-service truck would experience in a few years. This washboard section wasn't designed to bounce drivers right out of their seats, but that's what often happens, especially in a truck with a heavy front end like this one. The ribs on the washboard are not evenly spaced, making the wheels rise and fall at different intervals, and the curve at the end adds even more lateral stress to the suspension.
This is the curved washboard, same series of raised ridges, evenly spaced, but with a turn. Add a little bit more stress to the suspension because you've got a wider radius on one side than the other. That tends to twist things up fairly well.
Up next are the twister blocks, concrete protrusions about 10 inches tall and offset in order to induce the maximum level of opposite articulation in the suspension. On lesser suspensions, you'd be able to hear the huck bolts popping as the wheels grind over these humps. There are 2 sets of blocks here, one raised 10 inches, the other 8.
The Mack's test engineers call these little obstructions the 10-inch twister blocks. There's 3 blocks of concrete here, 10 inches tall, offset so that you've got the wheels articulating in totally different directions at each time. This really gives the suspension a workout. This set here is only 8 inches tall, but you can still see how dramatic the articulation moment is in that suspension. It's moving about 8 inches. They say it'll go almost 15, so that's about half the travel it's capable of. The Camelback suspension, formerly used on these dump trucks, had about an 8-inch of articulation.
And speaking of Mack's trademark Camelback suspension, that looked like a tough suspension. This mRIDE, well, Jerry tells me there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
All I can say is it's the nature of design. You know, today's mechanical engineers have a lot of different resources available to them that they never had years ago. They can actually simulate them via a computer and tell whether they're going to be equally as durable or not. And because of the available technology, we're using more finesse, if you will, than brute strength.
Finesse versus brute strength. That says a lot about how trucks have evolved over the years. Take Mack's mRIDE, for example. Compared to the steel spring suspension on this rugged old B61 Mack from 1957, those steel springs held the load up off the wheels, but they sure didn't do much for driver comfort. The mRIDE, on the other hand, offers strength where it's needed, and it provides a level of driver comfort unheard of 50 years ago. After today's test drive, I think I'm safe in saying that when it comes to suspension systems, it all comes down to design. And Mack has certainly done a fine job designing this new mRIDE suspension, not to mention the Twin Y suspension they designed for their on-highway trucks, which we feature in another video in this series. Make sure you check that one out as well. It's on our website, todaystrucking.com, and on our YouTube channel, Today's Trucking 1. From the Mack Customer Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, I'm Jim Park for Today's Trucking's Ultimate Test Drive Series. Stay safe and keep the seatbelts fastened.